This is awesome. The girl that we're rooting for in the book of Esther, the girl for whom the book is named, she's already the sweetheart of her class. She's the one that everybody's rooting for. I don't know, maybe her rivals don't like her. That would fit with kind of the high school environment, coming of age movie genre that we're looking at here in Esther chapter 2. But the people in charge like her, and they're rooting for her, and they're giving her every chance for her to use her good decision making and her social graces and her courage and her skill set in a way that will cause her to be the winner of this thing and end up becoming King Xerxes' queen, which is really important for the story working out the way that we want it to work out. So it's great. Now, who doesn't want to have the one that you're rooting for be the one that everybody else is rooting for too? And it's not just because she lucked out or fluked into it. No, there was a bunch of stuff that just happened to her in the early going. And we don't really get the impression that she had a say, or if she did, we don't really know what her opinion of it is. But as soon as she's in a place to start taking control of her own destiny, she's making good choices and it's working out for her. And this is great. But as is the case with most of these stories, there's always one thing that's lingering in the background that is going to make all of the progress and excitement of Act 2, when you have the success montage, all of that is going to give way to this thing, this Achilles heel that is sitting back there that poses a threat to the progress we're making and the well-being and success of the characters we care about. And in this case, it's a question of ethnicity, which is weird. Why should that matter so much? Well, let's just read the thing and more on that question in just a minute. Esther 2, verse 10, she's doing great. Haggai, the guy who's in charge of the harem, he went and got the ladies who work over at Xerxes' palace. He's like, the ones who work right there and know exactly what he likes and what his tastes are and what to talk to him about. You guys, come over here, work with her. And so things are going great. But, verse 10, Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. Every day he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Well, now, okay, 2 questions. I'll just throw them both out now and then we'll tackle them one at a time. Question number 1, why is it so dangerous to admit that you're a Jew in Persia? Question number 2, is Mordecai as good a guy as we thought? Why is he skulking around? Is he doing it because he's looking out for her? Or at this point, is he doing it because he really wants to make sure that she doesn't reveal her ethnic identity? Or is there something Mordecai is trying to get out of this situation? It's an odd little passage here that we're looking at. It does raise those 2 questions. So let's see what we can do about that and just reason it through together here a little bit. All right. The Persia thing. Cyrus is great. He conquers everything. The Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, they're long gone. And the Babylonians before that, they got rid of the Assyrians. Seems like those are the 2 groups who would get mad about Jewish stuff, who had some kind of rivalry. Now, there are lots of other, little ethnic groups floating around out there who were rivals with the Jews, but they don't have an empire or anything. So why would it matter? It seems like Cyrus was nice to the Jews, and then Darius, thumping his chest about how much he was upholding Cyrus's decisions, he goes in, what was that, Ezra 4 that we looked at, and makes all of those extra above and beyond statements about anybody who touches them or messes with them rebuilding things. They're going to take a beam of their house and we're going to impale them on it. They just don't mess with the Jews. I got Jew fever. I'm crazy about the Jews. So it doesn't seem like there'd be any problem there. And Darius, who said all of that nice stuff, protecting the Jewish people, he's only been dead for 7 years at this point in Esther chapter 2. He literally wrote his legacy in stone and told his sons not to in any way deviate from it. So I'd imagine that the same impulses that Darius had would be there for Xerxes. Xerxes went and tried to avenge his father by taking an ill-advised trip to Greece. I don't think there would be some new wave of anti-Semitism here from the throne that we didn't know about before. Plus, if we just skip ahead a little bit into the later story of Nehemiah, you got to go backwards in the Bible, but you're going forwards in history. We see that Nehemiah is well known to be a Jew, and he's the cupbearer to the new king, who's the son of Xerxes. Its new king is Artaxerxes. And when Artaxerxes notices that Nehemiah, his Jewish cupbearer, is a little bit sad one day, he's like, hey, dude, what's up? What's going on, man? And Nehemiah's like, it's just hard to be the cupbearer and have my mind here because there aren't walls around my Jewish city of Jerusalem, and it just stresses me out. And Artaxerxes is like, well, bro, then just go back, man. Get the walls done. Like, hey, say no more. It's cool. It's cool. It really is. And he lets Nehemiah make 2 trips like that. So I guess I'm just failing to see the rampant anti-Semitism from the Achaemenid emperors, the Achaemenid kings, ranging all the way from Cyrus down to at least Artaxerxes. And so I have to conclude that Mordecai wanting Esther to keep her ethnic identity a secret has nothing to do with Xerxes and must be in response to some other perceived threat that he thinks is out there. Now, I got to admit, one of the big mysteries, and I guess this gets us toward our second question of the day, one of our big mysteries here in the book of Esther is, what is Mordecai doing? He has his prescience to him. He helped get Esther ready for this situation, and he's there lurking around in the shadows. And when Esther loses her nerve a little bit, he's the one who almost inappropriately rattles the saber. How did he know? How did he initiate all of this? Does that demonstrate problems with Mordecai's character or just a great social awareness? We can explore that more later on. But if we give him the benefit of the doubt here, I think it would look like this. Mordecai knew that within this new world order of Persia, there were some little remaining pockets of anti-Semitism. And in the same way that we're going to see this little Jewish girl, Esther, climb the ladder and gain the most important thing you can have, the most valuable asset in all of Persian life, which is access to the king and influence on him. Well, so quite probably Mordecai knew that there were people from some of the age-old enemy people groups of the Jewish people who might also climb the ladder and get some of that most valuable currency in Persian culture, which was access to and potential influence over the king. In fact, maybe Mordecai already knew that there were a few people who pretended to not really even have any ethnic grudges from back in the day. I mean, who even remembers things that happened before Persia came along? Persia's the best. Anything that happened before that is just stupid and dumb. Let it be forgotten. Everything we do here just exists to serve and please the great King of Kings and to advance his desires. For whatever the king wants is whatever we want, and whatever the king deems good for his people is indeed good for his people. But maybe Mordecai suspected that was a smokescreen, and there were, in fact, officials with access to the king from age-old enemies of the Jewish people who still had secret scores to settle that they couldn't ever admit to in front of the king. But maybe Mordecai believed that these old scores, they weren't settled. There were old grudges still there. And if indeed he did fear that such a person might exist within the Persian court, within Xerxes' court, well, he's vindicated, because it turns out that he's right. There is somebody from an age-old enemy people group of the Jews who wants to hurt the Jewish people. And so maybe that's why Mordecai gives the counsel. But if that's why Mordecai gives that counsel, it was incredibly prescient. He was really paying attention to things and reading the room well. Whether it was good advice or not, whether it was needed advice or not, Esther apparently took that advice. She agreed to it before she started making her own decisions on screen here, like we were looking at yesterday. But Mordecai still isn't sure that she's going to be okay. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he's just operating in a protective role. It seems, as we learn more about him, that he's really good at listening. He's got his little birds, his little spiders all over the place who come and tell him things. He has a knack for seeing stuff and hearing stuff. And, well, that little knack is going to end up serving King Xerxes and saving him from a plot against his life a little bit later on. So my guess is that is what Mordecai is doing as he skulks about and listens in to open windows and from a safe distance keeps tabs on Esther. I don't know what he would have done if anything were going wrong, but he's there, and the author of this book wants us to remember that he hasn't gone anywhere. He is still in the game and trying to think of ways to support Esther for reasons that might not be entirely clear just yet. So right now we're still in a place where a lot of things are hidden. A lot of things are beyond the control of our heroes, Mordecai and Esther. And even though we are seeing Esther grab the situation by the reins more and more with each passing verse, there is still this thing lingering in the background. She's got a secret. And even though we don't know why that secret is dangerous yet, just the fact that it's injected into the story here the way it is tells us that indeed it is a dangerous secret. It's kind of a Chekhov's gun hanging on the wall there. And if the author takes a second to describe the gun hanging above the fireplace on the wall, it means that later on that gun is going to get fired. Same thing here. If the author takes the time to say that she has this secret, it means that later that secret is going to come out. And we'll have to keep reading to find out to what effect and with what consequences. That's it for this little aside. Now, next time around, we get back into the contest part and to Queen Esther working her way up the ladder toward ultimately winning the prize of becoming the new queen of Persia. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.